Picture this. It is a Sunday afternoon somewhere in America. A screen door swings open, the smell of something good is on the stove, and from a little radio in the corner, a voice cuts through everything. No gimmick, no auto-tune, just raw truth wrapped in a melody that stops whatever you were doing cold. That is what country music was between 1960 and 1975.
Flames went higher, and it burns, burns, burns.
These were not just songs. They were confessions. They were war cries. They were love letters written in blood and sawdust. Men and women who had nothing walked into studios with broken ribs, criminal records, and hearts barely holding together, and gave the world something it still has not forgotten.
And some young stranger lay dead on the floor.
This is Backroad Trail, and today we are going deep behind the music, 10 of the greatest country songs ever recorded, and the wild, real, untold stories that made them legendary. Songs written in 20 minutes on tour buses. Songs almost cut in half before radio proved the label wrong. Songs that Hillary Clinton turned into front-page news. Stories that nobody put together like this.
Like the hippies out in San Francisco.
Stay with us until number 1, because that story alone will change how you hear that song for the rest of your life. And if Backroad Trail is where you come for music that matters, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's ride. Number 10, El Paso, Marty Robbins, 1960.
I caught a good one, it looked like it.
Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. From the very first line, you knew this was not a regular song. It was a movie. Marty Robbins walked into a Nashville studio in April 1959 carrying 4 minutes and 38 seconds of pure cinematic storytelling.
A handsome young stranger lay dead on the floor.
Columbia Records immediately panicked. 4.5 minutes was almost double the standard radio length. The label pressed 2 versions on the same promo 45, the full song on one side and a trimmed-down edit on the other. The edit was the safe bet. Radio DJs across the country heard both and chose the long version every single time.
Like it could run up on its back and away I did run.
Phones lit up. People stayed through every verse of gunfight, jealousy, horseback chase, and a dying man's last kiss. By January 1960, La in El Paso was number 1 on both the pop and country charts simultaneously. It was the first song longer than 4 minutes to top the Billboard Hot 100. The first, until the Beatles and the Doors and everyone else figured out that rules are just suggestions.
Everything's gone in life, nothing is left.
Then came the Grammy. Marty Robbins walked away with the very first Grammy Award ever given in country music, Best Country and Western Recording. The man who refused to cut his song short became the man who changed what country music was allowed to be. He closed every concert with El Paso for the rest of his life. And when Breaking Bad named its finale after the song's heroine, Felina, a new generation leaned in and asked, "Who is this man?" Number 9, Harper Valley PTA, Jeannie C. Riley, 1968.
And it was signed by the secretary, Harper Valley PTA.
A widow gets a note from the PTA saying her miniskirt is too short, her drinking is too loud, her life is not appropriate. So she walks right into that meeting and burns the whole thing down. Tom T. Hall wrote Harper Valley PTA based on a real incident he witnessed in a small southern town. He finished it in under an hour.
And Mr. Baker, can you tell us why your secretary...
Jeannie C. Riley was a 23-year-old Texas secretary working temp jobs in Nashville. She had never had a hit record. She walked into the studio on August 7, 1968, and recorded it in one take. One take, producer Shelby Singleton heard it played back and told the room they were done for the day. Within 6 weeks, the song hit number 1 on both the country and pop charts at the same time. Something almost nobody had managed since Patsy Cline. It won the Grammy for Best Female Country Vocal Performance. Jeannie Riley went from a secretary to a Grammy winner in the same calendar year.
And shouldn't Widow Jones be told to keep her window shades up?
But here is where the industry showed its teeth. Jeannie received a flat fee for the session. The royalties flowed elsewhere. She later said she had to fight for years just to be properly compensated for a song that sold millions. The woman who stood up for the widow in that song had to stand up for herself in real life too. The song became a film and a television series. That one-take secretary from Texas left a mark that Hollywood still cannot match. Number 8. Gentle on My Mind. Glenn Campbell, 1967.
Knowing that your door's always open and your path is...
John Hartford was a folk singer from Missouri. He had a steamboat obsession, a banjo obsession, and an overwhelming desire to write something that could not be categorized. In 1967, he sat down, reportedly inspired by the film Dr. Zhivago, and wrote Gentle on My Mind in one sitting.
On my mind.
Glenn Campbell heard it and heard everything in it. He recorded it, and it reached number 7 on the country charts. Then something happened that the charts could not measure. Every musician in the world wanted a piece of it. Over 300 artists eventually recorded cover versions. 300. In multiple languages across 5 continents.
By the rivers of my memory, ever smiling, ever gentle.
BMI, Broadcast Music Incorporated, later certified it as the most performed country song in history. Not the best-selling, the most performed. As radio stations, jukeboxes, television shows, films, restaurants, it played more than any country song that had ever existed. John Hartford received over $35 million in royalties across his lifetime from a song he wrote in one afternoon.
But not to where I cannot see you walking on the back.
He used that money to become a licensed steamboat pilot on the Mississippi River, living out his other obsession. Because when you write the most played country song in the history of the genre, you get to follow your second dream. Glenn Campbell won 4 Grammys in this era and became one of the most celebrated voices of the century. But it all started with one man, one banjo, and a film about snow and sacrifice he watched and could not let go. Number 7. Okie from Muskogee. Merle Haggard, 1969. Merle Haggard was riding his tour bus through Oklahoma in the spring of 1969. He spotted a highway sign, Muskogee, 19 miles. He woke up his drummer Roy Edward Burris and joked, "I bet they do not smoke marijuana in Muskogee." Burris laughed. Then another line came, then another. In 20 minutes they had a song.
A place where even squares can have a ball.
Now, here is what makes this story extraordinary. The man who wrote a song defending traditional American values and patriotism had done 3 years in San Quentin State Prison. Burglary, multiple arrests, a youth spent on the wrong side of every line. Haggard walked out of San Quentin in 1960 on parole and reportedly watched Johnny Cash perform a concert for inmates before he was released. That changed him.
I'm proud to be an Okie.
Okie from Muskogee hit number 1 country for 4 weeks in the fall of 1969. Conservative America erupted when soldiers heard it at a Fort Bragg concert. They stormed the stage and refused to let Haggard leave until he played it 3 more times. Nixon personally cited the song. Haggard was invited to perform at the White House. A convicted felon became the most patriotic symbol in American music.
Football's still the roughest thing on campus.
But decades later, Haggard admitted he wrote it partly as a joke, a character sketch. He later changed his views on marijuana, on the war, on the protests. His words, not mine. "I was dumb as a rock when I wrote that song." The song took on a life far bigger than the man ever intended. And sometimes, that is the most powerful thing a song can do. Number 6. Behind Closed Doors. Charlie Rich, 1973.
She never makes a scene, hanging all over me.
By the early 1970s, Charlie Rich had been trying to break through for over a decade. A jazz piano player from Arkansas who had bounced through rockabilly, blues, and country without ever finding the right moment. Producer Billy Sherrill, the same man who gave Tammy Wynette her biggest hit, heard something in Charlie Rich that others had missed. He signed him to Epic Records and started rebuilding his sound. Songwriter Kenny Odell brought Behind Closed Doors to Sherrill. The song was about private love, the kind of devotion that does not perform for the public. Charlie Rich walked into the studio and delivered a vocal so effortlessly sensual that Sherrill later said he knew immediately it was the breakthrough they had been building toward. The song went to number 1 in 1973, and the Silver Fox won CMA Single of the Year and Entertainer of the Year. After 10 years of grinding through the industry machine, He was suddenly the biggest name in country music.
And she makes me glad that
Then came the moment country music still talks about. At the 1975 CMA Awards, Charlie Rich was handed the envelope to announce Entertainer of the Year. When he opened it and saw John Denver's name, he pulled out his lighter and set the card on fire. On live television, the room fell silent. He was never nominated for that award again. But no one who was in that room ever forgot that moment. If these stories hit different, hit subscribe. It costs nothing, takes 2 seconds, and it tells the algorithm to put this in front of more people who love music the way we do. Now, back to the story. We are just getting to the good part. Number 5. Coal Miner's Daughter, Loretta Lynn, 1970.
We were poor, but we
She was born in a one-room cabin in Butcher Hollow, Kentucky. No running water, no floor, some years. The second of 8 children born to a coal miner named Ted Webb. She wrote Coal Miner's Daughter herself in 1969, 9 verses, and had to cut 3 of them out because the song ran too long. She said it broke her heart to lose those verses.
Daddy always managed.
She wrote it as a bluegrass melody. Her producer Owen Bradley shaped it into something that crossed every line country music had drawn. When it was released in October 1970, it climbed the country charts fast, and by December, it was number 1. For Loretta Lynn, a woman married at 15, a mother of 6 before age 20, it was her 4th number 1 single.
My daddy worked all night in the van.
In 2001, NPR named it one of the 100 most significant songs of the 20th century. The Library of Congress inducted it into the National Recording Registry in 2009. The song became her autobiography literally when she published a book of the same name in 1976. Then came the film. Sissy Spacek won the Academy Award for Best Actress playing Loretta Lynn. Spacek sang every vocal herself.
Yeah, I'm proud to be a coal miner's daughter.
In 1972, Loretta became the first woman ever named CMA Entertainer of the Year. The girl from Butcher Hollow, who had to cut 3 verses out of her own life story, became the only woman ever named ACM Artist of the Decade. She died in October 2022 at age 90, and that cabin on the hill still stands. Number 4. Take Me Home, Country Roads, John Denver, 1971. Here is something almost no one talks about. Neither John Denver nor the 2 people who wrote this song had ever been to West Virginia when they wrote it. Not once.
Her voice in the morning hours, she calls me.
It was December 29th, 1970. Bill Danoff and his wife, Taffy Nivert, a struggling songwriter duo from Georgetown, D.C., were opening for John Denver at a club called The Cellar Door. They had a half-finished song intended for Johnny Cash. After the show, they played it for Denver. He broke his thumb in a car accident on the way to their apartment that same night, rushed to the hospital, got it splinted, and still showed up wired and ready to work.
Miner's lady, stranger to blue.
The 3 stayed up until 6 in the morning rewriting and rearranging. Danoff later said Denver's energy was what made it happen. Left to my own devices, I would have had another beer and played another song. The next night, December 30th, Denver called the duo to the stage for an encore. They performed it publicly for the first time. The audience gave them a 5-minute standing ovation.
Dusty, painted on the sky.
Take Me Home, Country Roads peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It launched one of the most beloved careers in American music. In 2014, 43 years after it was written, the West Virginia legislature officially made it a state song. A state song for a place the writers had never visited. John Denver died in a plane crash in October 1997. But some roads carry you home forever. Number 3. Stand By Your Man, Tammy Wynette, 1968.
Giving all your love.
Billy Sherrill had a crumpled piece of paper in his pocket. Chord changes. A rough title. With an hour left in a Nashville session in August 1968, he and Tammy Wynette walked upstairs to his office and finished the song. 15 minutes. That is how long it took to write one of the most controversial songs in American history. Tammy was not even sure she liked it. She played it for George Jones, who she would marry the following year. And he told her he did not care for it. He did not even know she had written it. She released it in September 1968 anyway. Within weeks, it hit #1 on the country chart. Crossed over to the Pop Top 20. Women's liberation groups called it a surrender anthem. Tammy spent the rest of her life defending 15 minutes of work.
After all, he's just a man.
And then came January 26th, 1992. The Clintons sat down on 60 Minutes, right after the Super Bowl, to address allegations of an affair. Hillary Clinton said on live television, "I am not sitting here some little woman, standing by my man like Tammy Wynette." Tammy was watching. She was furious. She fired off an open letter. Clinton apologized. But the irony was not lost on anyone. Hillary Clinton, in the years that followed, stood by her man exactly the way the song described.
But if you love him, you'll...
The song won a Grammy in 1970. It was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame and the Library of Congress National Recording Registry, all from 15 minutes of writing before a studio session that was running long. Tammy Wynette spent years defending a song that will outlive every word ever written against it. Number 2, Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash, 1963.
I fell into a ring of fire.
June Carter was driving alone one night, anxious, restless, unable to shake the feeling of a love she did not want to want. She and Johnny Cash were touring together. Both of them were married to other people. She later wrote, "There is no way to be in that kind of hell. No way to extinguish a flame that burns, burns, burns." That is where the song came from.
Down, 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 and the flames went higher.
She co-wrote it with Merle Kilgore, using a phrase she found underlined in a book of Elizabethan poetry belonging to her uncle, A.P. Carter. They finished it quickly for June's sister Anita, who recorded the first version in 1962. It did not chart. Cash heard Anita's recording and had a dream. In that dream, he heard the song with mariachi horns. He called a recording studio contact in the middle of a bath and described the horn arrangement. The man on the phone said it did not sound crazy to him.
And it burns, 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 the ring of fire.
On March 25, 1963, Johnny Cash walked into the studio with Mother Maybelle and the Carter sisters singing Harmony. Ring of Fire spent 7 weeks at #1 on the country chart. It crossed over to the top 20 pop. It became the defining signature of a man with hundreds of songs to his name.
And it burns, 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 the ring of fire.
Cash and Carter were both finally single by 1967. He proposed to her on stage in Gatlinburg, Tennessee on February 22, 1968. She said yes. June Carter. Cash died in May 2003. Johnny Cash died 4 months later in September 2003. Their daughter Roseanne said the song was always about the transformative power of love. A forbidden fire that outlasted everything, even death. Number 1. Crazy. Patsy Cline, 1961. Willie Nelson was broke. A struggling radio DJ and nightclub singer who had written a few hits for other people but could not get his own career moving. He had a demo of a song he originally called Stupid. He played it at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, the famous Nashville bar just steps from the Ryman Auditorium. Patsy Cline's husband Charlie Dick heard it and loved it. So much so that he drove Willie to their house at 1 in the morning and woke Patsy out of bed to listen to it. Patsy was not impressed. She had already told her husband to stop bringing her Willie Nelson songs. But something about this one stayed. Her producer Owen Bradley set up the session. The Jordanaires, Elvis Presley's own backup singers, were called in for harmonies. The arrangement was unusual for country music at the time. A lush, jazz-influenced, emotionally wide open. Then the car accident happened. June 14, 1961. Patsy and her brother were struck head-on. She flew through the windshield, dislocated hip, broken ribs, broken wrist, a gash across her forehead. 2 other people in the other car died at the hospital. Doctors were not sure Patsy would survive. She spent nearly a month in recovery from multiple surgeries. 2 months later, still on crutches, she walked into Owen Bradley's studio. The broken ribs made it impossible to hit the high notes. After 4 hours of trying, she and Bradley gave up for the night. The musicians packed up. A week later, she came back. She stood in front of the microphone and recorded her vocal in one take. When she performed Crazy at the Grand Ole Opry on crutches shortly after, she received 3 standing ovations. The song peaked at number 2 on the country chart and number 9 on the pop chart. Willie Nelson later said, "Because Patsy liked it, I was poor no longer." The joke in Nashville went, "How many female singers does it take to sing Crazy?" All of them. In 1996, 33 years after Patsy Cline died in a plane crash at age 30, Crazy was certified as the most played jukebox song in American history. Not in country, in all of American music. A woman who almost did not survive a car crash, a song that was almost never recorded, a vocal cut on crutches in one take by someone in physical pain. That is the number 1. That is the greatest story country music ever told. These are the real stories, not the radio edits, not the greatest hits liner notes. The actual truth, sitting behind songs that have outlived the people who made them. If this gave you something tonight, share it. Leave a comment with which story hit hardest. And if you are not subscribed yet, Backroad Trail is where the real music lives. We will see you down the road.